One of the strangest things about this trilogy is there's some weird-ass kisses. They seem to come out of nowhere and are always very jarring for the audience. We as an audience love love in our movies. I know I do. Love stories are at the heart of every single one of us. Love is one of the most powerful emotions, and that's why it's very prominent in cinema. In fact, one of the greatest romantic moments for me in movie history is when Leia tells Han, "I love you." Well, we know. Love needs to be set up. It needs to brew. The audience almost needs to be in on it before the characters. So when they do finally hook up, we're happy for them and we want them to be together. But this shit is just forced and embarrassing. It made everyone in the audience feel weird, and even Finn looks confused. By removing it, by making a small cut right before she goes in for the kiss, makes the scene flow so much better.
Why would you do that? Huh? I was almost there. Why would you stop me?
I saved you. Tell me. That's how we're gonna win. Not fighting what we hate. Saving what we love.
When Disney first announced a new Star Wars trilogy with the old cast, I was in heaven.
Chewie, we're home.
I couldn't believe I was going to see Luke, Han, and Leia on screen again. Luke mostly, as he was always my personal favorite.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
His journey to becoming a Jedi Knight and saving his father is still some of the best cinematic storytelling. Being able to see Luke 30 years after his rise to the level of Jedi Knight was going to blow everyone's mind. Arguably, that's enough to make an entire trilogy about. I'm even okay with Luke abandoning the Jedi, as long as it's a part of his journey, and he does something big at the end for the greater good, which I guess he kind of does in this movie. His journey and sacrifice is so watered down by the fact that Rian Johnson just wanted to divert everyone's expectations, that he tried to make something clever on paper, while sacrificing the dramatic impact of the scene. I argue that Luke should have physically gone out to that battlefield, confronted Kylo Ren, and died for the good of the Resistance, which technically happened, but him not really being there and dying on a rock from being tired is a huge disappointment. I keep talking about my first reactions to these movies because I think it's important for context and why some of these changes were made. When Luke stepped out onto the battlefield, and Kylo ordered all the AT-ATs to fire on his old master, I could hardly breathe. This was finally the moment that 8-year-old Greg had been waiting for his whole life. It was gonna happen. Then the Jedi Master steps out of the cloud of smoke and he brushes his shoulder off. I cried a little bit. Then they ignite their lightsabers. Wait, Luke's holding his old blue lightsaber? Didn't that get destroyed in the last scene? Oh well. Lightsabers. Luke does some slick dodge moves, showing he's way too badass for Kylo to handle. Then he's not really there? Okay. Interesting, I guess. I didn't mind this concept of Luke projecting himself before I knew he died from it. When they cut to Luke on the rock and he vanished, I was confused and said to myself, he died of being tired? He died from being tired? Now, I'm a big baby while watching movies. I cry. It's what I do. I got choked up during the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. This is my most beloved character, and when he died, I was only confused. I should have been bawling my eyes out. Luke Skywalker died from being tired? I had to fix this atrocity. In doing so, I had to take several steps. First, the blue lightsaber. That was obviously a clue to him not being there. What if I made it green like his Return of the Jedi lightsaber? I couldn't change the handle, but I was able to add a green glow, and that was enough to say it was at least a different lightsaber. Then came the death itself. This was a bit trickier. I only had what I had to work with, so I had to be very precise with my cut.
I'll destroy her, and you, and all of it.
No. Strike me down in anger and I'll always be with you. Just like your father.
By cutting right when Kylo makes contact with Luke and adding a saber strike sound effect, I was able to imply the death of Luke with only the look on the characters' faces and a music cue. Now, I feel something other than confusion when Luke dies. Rian Johnson was so concerned with doing something different with Luke that he forgot to do what was right for Luke. Now that I made Luke actually there, I had to make a tiny cut where the dice disappeared. This was always weird to me that Luke gave Leia an illusion of her dead husband's dice. How fucking cruel is that? Maybe it was some sort of brother-sister prank? I don't know.
We have everything we need.
The ending of this movie always rubbed me the wrong way. Not what happens, but the tone of it. Hundreds, maybe thousands of rebels died over the last few days, and there's only a couple dozen left alive. This should have been a very sad scene. Instead, the music is victorious and uplifting, so I changed the music to a more solemn tone, fitting with the reality of what the Resistance just went through.
Luke is gone. I felt it. But it wasn't sadness or pain, it was peace and purpose.
I felt it too.
How do we build a rebellion from this?
We have everything we need.
This movie didn't bother me as much as it bothered some. I know it's far from a perfect movie, even very stupid at times, but for the most part, I liked it. This movie only has a few small but effective tweaks. Since the beginning of this movie was moved to the end of the second act in Last Jedi, I needed a new opening shot to establish the planet where the Resistance is hiding out. This is compiled from Google, enhanced in Photoshop, and animated in Adobe Premiere. Since I'm not a 3D modeler, this is the best I can do with what I have.
He's cheating. Definitely.
I also had to move some of these scenes around to make the transition into the third film smoother.
Claude, I hope you fixed that surge.
Sorry to the weird alien with no arms who is a mechanic. You had to go. You just didn't make any sense.
Horrible things.
Now, I didn't really mind the Sith dagger. In fact, I liked the whole story thread about C-3PO not being able to translate it to our heroes because of programming.
Unfortunately, it is written in the runic language of the Sith.
So what?
My programming forbids me from translating it.
But the part that didn't work for me was when they stand out on a seemingly random grassy area and Rey, Goonies style, has to pull out a little pointer and line it up to the wreckage that's only been there for about 30 years to designate where the Wayfinder is. It just didn't feel like a logical story element. Doesn't Rey have the Force? Can't she just sense where it is? So that's what I did. I made it so she just knows.
What is that?
It's the Death Star. It's a bad place from an old war.
It's gonna take us years to find what we're looking for.
Oh, dear.
Heads up.
Disney Star Wars, the home of awkward kisses. When I first watched this movie, I didn't mind this so much. Rey and Kylo have been through a lot together, and it seemed like a passionate way of saying, oh my god, we survived, rather than it being a sexual thing. But sitting next to me in the theater was my son. And when this happened, he let out an audible sigh. I brushed it off, but to him, it was one of the parts that ruined the movie. We debated the issue over and over again, so when I was doing this edit, I thought, what the hell? And I tried to remove the kiss. What happened was amazing. I realized that the kiss distracted from a very, very beautiful moment between Rey and Kylo. The kiss yanks you out of the moment, because now you're thinking about them getting married, maybe having some Reylo babies. But now the moment is just beautiful and you can live in it. Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley are two fantastic actors, and in my opinion, one of the best parts about this trilogy. And now this scene reflects that, instead of distracting you by a bad kiss. Damn it. My son was right.
Rey who? Rey Skywalker.
The final tweak I made was more of a continuity error. The second to last shot of the movie is of BB-8, with the sun setting behind him. Rey walks past him, away from the suns, and then the final shot is the two of them facing the suns. Now, is there a second set of twin suns on Tatooine? So, to fix the issue, I just zoomed the shot of BB-8, added a glow from the suns coming from the right direction, and I'm no longer irritated.
How did you do that?
I don't know.
No
I
one
found some
trained
ships, but I've never left the planet. Your last
That was
ship
a-
This trilogy was a product of a lack of leadership. It seems like J.J. Abrams set up a very strong story and great characters, and by letting Rian Johnson do whatever he wanted, really backed this trilogy into a corner, causing the last movie to be very paper thin. This will always be thought of as a trilogy that could have been amazing, had there been a plan from the beginning. The fact that they were so concerned with getting new movies out that they forgot to make the stories worthy of telling. Unfortunately, we'll never get the movies we all pictured in our heads, or maybe even something we didn't expect.
Made his bank selling weapons to the bad guys.
Instead, all we got was this attempt by Disney to just try to profit from this beloved franchise. If Disney would have just carefully planned and let the story guide them, they would have had another 40 years to profit off of these movies. I still love Star Wars, and unfortunately, I always will. Hopefully this will cause Disney to take another look at Star Wars, and the current people handling it, and make a change for the better, and give Star Wars a new hope for the future. Thank you for watching.